My high school crush publicly humiliated me for being poor. 4 years later, she tried to date my bank account, so I threw her exact words back in her face. To understand this story, we have to go back 4 years. I'm currently 22, but back in high school, I was completely invisible. I was awkward, struggled with terrible acne, wore baggy thrift store clothes, and had zero self-confidence. And then there was Chloe. Chloe was the undisputed queen bee of our school. She was stunning, popular, and came from an incredibly wealthy family. I had a massive, pathetic crush on her for 3 straight years. During our senior year, I finally built up the courage to do something about it. I spent weeks writing a genuine, heartfelt letter, bought a small bouquet of her favorite flowers, and approached her at her locker after school. I didn't realize that 3 of her popular friends were hiding right around the corner with their phones out. When I handed her the flowers, Chloe didn't just say no. She laughed in my face. She took the letter, read my private thoughts out loud to the entire hallway, and then threw the flowers directly into the trash can. She told me, and I quote, "In your absolute dreams. Come back when you actually have a future and a bank account." The video of my rejection was posted to TikTok and went viral locally. I spent the rest of senior year wishing I could evaporate. That rejection completely broke me, but it also lit an absolute fire under my seat. The day I graduated, I cut off everyone from high school, blocked Chloe on everything, and went to work. Transition the background gameplay to something incredibly fast-paced here to signal the transition into the glow-up phase. Over the next 4 years, my life completely transformed. I started hitting the gym consistently, fixed my skin, and completely overhauled my style. But more importantly, I focused on my career. I fell headfirst into software development and freelance app creation. By the time I turned 21, an app one co-developed was acquired by a major tech firm. Suddenly, the awkward kid who wore thrift store clothes was making a high six-figure income and living in a luxury high-rise downtown. I finally felt good about myself, and high school felt like a lifetime ago. Until last month. I was attending a high-end charity gala and networking event downtown. I was dressed in a tailored suit, talking with a few potential investors, when I turned around and saw a woman staring at me from across the room. It took me a solid 10 seconds to realize it was Chloe. But things had clearly changed for her. Her family's business had hit major financial trouble during our college years, which I had heard rumors about. She was working the event as part of the catering and promotional staff. When our eyes met, her jaw dropped. Without the baggy clothes and the acne, she barely recognized me, but once she did, she immediately walked over. She didn't bring up high school at all. Instead, she turned on the charm, laughing at my jokes, touching my arm, and acting incredibly flirty. I played along out of pure politeness, but inside, I was stunned by how superficial she was. At the end of the night, she practically forced her phone into my hand and insisted that I take her number so we could catch up properly over dinner. Drop the music volume slightly to emphasize the dramatic texts and the final restaurant scene. Against my better judgment, I texted her a few days later, mostly out of morbid curiosity. She immediately suggested a wildly expensive sushi restaurant in the city. When we sat down for dinner, Chloe spent the first 30 minutes talking about how difficult her life had become since her family lost their money, and how she was looking for a stable, successful man who could appreciate her. She kept dropping heavy hints about how amazing we would look together as a couple. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I set my chopsticks down, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Chloe, do you actually like me, or do you just like my bank account?" She froze, looking completely flustered. "What? Of course I like you. Why would you say that?" I smiled. "Because 4 years ago, you threw my flowers in the trash and told me to come back when I had a future in money. Well, now I have both. But it turns out, I don't have any room in my life for people who only value me based on my wallet." Chloe's face turned bright red. She realized I hadn't forgotten a single thing. Her eyes welled up with tears, and she literally grabbed my hand across the table. She started begging me, saying she was just a stupid, immature kid in high school, that peer pressure made her do mean things, and that she had genuinely regretted hurting me ever since. She pleaded with me to just give her one real chance to prove she had changed. I gently pulled my hand away, stood up, and laid down enough cash to cover my half of the bill. I looked at her one last time and said, "I guess it was just in your absolute dreams." Then, I walked out of the restaurant, leaving her crying at the table. Since that night, 2 of her old high school friends have somehow found my business email. They are spamming me, calling me a petty, vindictive asshole. They claim Chloe is going through a genuinely hard time, that people deserve forgiveness for high school mistakes, and that I used my wealth to intentionally humiliate her for revenge. My friends are split. Some think it was the ultimate poetic justice, but others think I went too far by leading her on just to drop the hammer on her.